And welcome back. Further Maths 5 a day for the 5th of April. And let's just jump straight to the first one. All right, what do we have? Straight line joining 2 points has length of this. Find the two values. Okay. I've got to stop saying clever question, but well-designed question. What this is saying, where can I do this? Let's do this over here. So I've got 2 points. Now, for the sake of the diagram, I don't care whether my 2 points are set up correctly. All I care about is setting up the triangle to do Pythagoras to work out what I've got. So I'm going to call point 1, so I'm going to put this here, so minus 424. So that's my first point. Let's make that a neater 4. Let's just make that a 4 you can read. There we go, 24. And then the other one is A3. So already you can see my diagram's not perfect, but it doesn't matter because that's not what this is about. And then it tells me the length, in other words, the hypotenuse is 7 root 10. So the other thing I'm going to know is 7 root 10 is the same as 49 times 10, which is root 490. I think that's going to make it slightly easier for the thing that's about to happen. Now, Pythagoras. I care about this length here, and I care about this length here. And I don't care whether they're negative or positive because I'm going to square them anyway. So if we look at the y values, the difference between 24 and 3 is 21. Again, don't really care whether it's going up or down because I'm going to square the number anyway. This one's slightly harder. The difference between a and minus 4 is going to be a plus 4. In other words, add 4 to get to 0, then add a. Even if a is negative, that still works. Which means I have an equation. That equation is a plus 4 squared, Pythagoras, plus 21 squared is equal to 490 squared, which is 490, which is why I did that bit over there to start with. This is going to be a quadratic, isn't it? Which is why I've got two possible values. So a squared plus 8a plus 16 plus 21 squared equals 490. Now I'm going to go over here because I have some space over here. So let's tidy this up. So that's going to give me, well, calculator out so I don't mess it up. So 16 plus 21 squared minus 490 is minus 33, which gives me the quadratic a squared plus 8a minus 33 is equal to 0. If this were a maths exam, it's definitely a mark, at least a couple of marks for getting the right quadratic. Now, can I factorise? 33 is 3 and 11. Yeah, I can. So it's going to be a plus 11, a minus 3 is equal to 0, which means that a is equal to 3, or a is equal to minus 11. What does it want me to do? Straight line, blah, 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 blah. Find the two possible values of a. I found the two possible values of a, which are going to be 3 and minus 11. And that's it, question done. Actually, again, I quite like that question. Clever little setup of the question. Really well done. Next question. Okay, we have a piecewise function, don't we? So a function is defined as. Now, before you just sort of jump in, quick check of what you think is going to happen, just to check it works out okay. So this is going to be a straight line which goes up. This is going to be some part of a quadratic, and this is going to be a straight line that goes down. What I care about is where they match. Now, because the first one is x is equal to x, so actually this is the easiest one. I know it's going to be between minus 4 and 0, so minus 4 is down here. Can't really see my grid very well, which means my first part looks something like that. Obviously, as I've said in other videos, in an exam, get a ruler out, because actually by case in point, that hasn't gone through minus 3 very well, has it? But obviously I'm doing it to demonstrate you will do it better in your exam. Next part. Now, I know that x squared when it's 0 is 0, which is good because I start at the same point. And I know x squared when it's 2 is going to be 4, so I need to try and show a quadratic between 0 and 4. So, and actually I'm going to do 0, 1, just to give me an extra point. So it goes through 1, 1, it goes through 2, 4, that will do. I've shown I understand this is a quadratic. 6 minus x, so 6 minus 2 is 4, and 6 minus 4 is 2, so straight line between 2, 4 and 4, 2, which is here. And so my final answer, albeit for that not very good starting point, I mean, maybe it should be a bit more like that, albeit for that part, that is my answer as presented. It is about showing you understand how to represent the curves. But that's not the question. So the question says, draw the graph, done that, and state, maths code 4 should be quite straightforward, its range. Well, it's basically saying, what's the biggest value of y? Well, that's going to be 4. What's the smallest value of y? Minus 4. Can I equal those values? Yes, I can. And then I'm going to write f of x in the middle. So f of x is between minus 4 and 4. Question done. Next and final question today. Solve. Now, you get quite good at these. If you do A-level maths, which I have to say, if you're watching these videos, probably likely you can do A-level maths. You're going to do a whole load of these identities. The only identity you learn for further maths GCSE is sine squared plus cos squared is equivalent to 1. And you're going to use that a lot. So I'm going to recognise a cos, and it'd be helpful if everything was in terms of cos. So I'm going to change the sine squared for 1 minus cos squared x plus 1 minus 5 cos x is equal to 0. I'm going to get a quadratic. Now, in one go, so check you're happy with what I've done, I'm going to expand the brackets and multiply by minus 1. So 2 times minus cos x is minus 2 cos squared x, multiplied by minus 1 is cos squared x, minus 5 cos x becomes plus 5 cos x, 2 times 1 is 2, plus 1 is 3, so that becomes minus 3, and that equals to 0. Now, at this stage, your teacher might have taught you to say, let y or x or some other value equal cos x, and then you do what's called a substitution quadratic. If you're comfortable with factorising, don't need to do that. Just do it in one go. So I know I can factorise this down to 2 cos x and cos x. In other words, I'm writing that instead of my y. And then I've got to think about where the minus 3 and the 1's going to go, or the plus 1 and minus 3. And if I think about it, it must be, I'm going to double check this, so it must be 3 and minus 1. And if I check it, that gives me 2 is 6 cos x, minus cos x is 5 cos x, and yeah, that's worked. Good. Now, that equals 0, which means that, solve this one, which means that cos x is equal to a half, or cos x is equal to minus 3. Get in the habit, even if the question doesn't need it, of saying no solutions. You've explained why it hasn't worked. Which means cos x equals a half. Well, that means I know my exact value, so therefore cos x, or x I should say, is equal to 60, or, well, it's 360 minus 60, so it's going to be 300 degrees. And that's my answer. So just to be really clear in the exam, my final answer is these two values are going to give me the solutions I need to the above. And that's it. Well done if you got those. As ever, let me know how you did. Do like, subscribe, and I'll see you tomorrow. Thanks all.